Imagine sitting at a table you helped build, then watching your work handed to the man who smiled in your father's shadow. Imagine them telling an entire company you were suspended, without proof, because a family story mattered more than the facts. I could have begged. I could have sworn. Instead, I walked away with a single file the world forgot to lock. My signature inside the company's bones. It wasn't vengeance for my ego. It was a surgeon's removal of the rotten tissue. I didn't burn the house down. I just pulled the right wire and let the truth leak like water from a pipe. The twist? When the audit began, the trail didn't point to me. It pointed to the man who invented family first as an excuse to steal credit. He panicked. He blamed the wrong person. He lied to protect a habit that had ruined lives. I was patient. That patience forced the reveal. This is a first-person account of quiet fury, careful planning, and the moment the most powerful room in the building went silent. Keywords: corporate scandal, family business drama, revenge plan, true story. If you want to hear exactly how I exposed the truth, revealed the lies, and watched everything flip upside down, make sure you subscribe right now. And drop a comment. Have you ever been betrayed at work? Your story might help someone else. My name is Jason Wells, and for almost 8 years, I thought my life was stable. I wasn't rich. I wasn't famous. But I had something I valued more than anything: consistency. I worked at Wells Tech Industries, a mid-sized software company my father built long before I was born. People love to call it family-run, but what they really meant was my father ran everything, and everyone else just existed under his shadow. Some sons dream of inheriting an empire. I never did. I only wanted the work I did to matter. That dream died on a Thursday morning at exactly 9:14 a.m. I remember the moment like a high-resolution photo burned into my brain. The boardroom was cold, the AC set way too low because my father hated seeing anyone get too comfortable. The big screen behind him displayed the title slide of my project, my creation, something I had been building for almost 2 years. Our new automation platform, Neuroflow, designed to save the company millions. I spent nights and weekends perfecting that platform. I wrote the first line of code. I created the workflow. I designed the model that made everything run. It was the biggest project of my life. So when I walked into the room and saw my younger brother, Tyler, standing beside my father as if he authored the whole thing, I felt something twist deep inside my chest. My father cleared his throat, loud and sharp. Jason, before we begin, I need to address your behavior. Behavior? That word alone felt like a slap. I hadn't done anything wrong. I wasn't late. I wasn't careless. I didn't break rules. Hell, I barely talked enough to cause problems. He stood up, buttoned his suit jacket, and said the words that would change my life forever. Effective immediately, Jason Wells is suspended from the company pending investigation. He is to leave the premises now. The room froze. Someone whispered. Someone gasped. Someone even looked away, like they couldn't handle watching a train crash this slowly. I didn't move. I didn't blink. I didn't understand. Dad, what investigation? I managed to ask quietly. He didn't flinch. He didn't soften. He didn't even blink. Tyler reported that you accessed confidential client files without authorization, he said. That's a serious violation. Until we resolve this, you cannot remain here. My brother glanced at me with that fake sad expression, the one he used whenever he wanted to look like a victim. Behind the expression, I could see it, his smirk trying to escape, because he knew exactly what he did. Tyler had always been jealous, always competitive, always desperate to catch up to me in any way he could. And now, with Neuroflow ready to launch, he wanted my credit. My father, his favorite child, gave it to him. I swallowed, forcing air into my lungs. So you're suspending your own son without proof? The boardroom stayed silent. My father's voice stayed hard. Leave your project files. Leave your badge. Security will escort you. My badge. My identity. My work. Everything ripped away in front of 30 executives and managers who pretended to care about integrity. I didn't argue. Arguing would only make me look guilty. So I placed my badge on the table. It made a tiny plastic sound, but to me it felt like a gunshot. I picked up my notebook. I didn't look at my brother. I didn't give them tears or anger. I simply said, "Okay." And I walked out. Not because I was defeated, but because in that moment, something powerful ignited inside me. Something calm, something cold, something sharp. I wasn't going to fight them with noise. I was going to fight them with truth. But truth takes time. Truth needs strategy. Truth requires proof. And lucky for me, I had something no one else knew existed. A backup. A full, time-stamped, unedited copy of Neuroflow's development history. Every commit, every line of code, every version, every correction. My name was on every piece of it. Tyler's name wasn't on anything. But that wasn't the part that terrified me. The real fear hit me 2 hours later, when I received an email from IT saying my entire account had been deleted. Not disabled. Not frozen. Deleted. That meant only one thing. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a setup. A hit. A coordinated erasure of me from the company my father built, the company I helped run, the company I lived for. My chest tightened, but not from panic. From clarity. I wasn't suspended. I was erased. Which meant I had 2 choices. Crawl away quietly and start a new life, expose the people who tried to bury me, and rebuild everything they tried to steal. Guess which one I chose? When the sun went down that night, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't drink. I opened my laptop, plugged in my external drive, and began building the blueprint for my revenge. Because if they wanted to erase me, then I would show them what happens when you try to delete the wrong man. When I left Wells Tech that morning, I didn't go home. I couldn't. My hands were shaking too much to drive straight, and my mind kept replaying my father's words like a broken recording. Jason Wells is suspended. Leave your badge. Suspended. Erased. Replaced. And the worst part? Everyone in that room believed him. They believed Tyler. To them, I was already a criminal who hacked into files. I parked my car behind a small 24-hour cafe downtown. It was nearly empty, just a couple of college kids and a tired barista who looked like she hated the world more than I did. Perfect place to hide my anger. I ordered a black coffee, sat in the corner, and opened my laptop. The moment the screen lit up, something inside me snapped into focus. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to wait for someone to magically fix my life. I was going to think. Plan. Because if they wanted war, I wasn't stepping in unarmed. I plugged in my external drive, the same one I had used to back up every piece of work from Neuroflow. My father once called it paranoid. I called it insurance. The screen filled with folders. /Neuroflow_engine. /Neuroflow_source_code. /version_1.0_to_6.2. /internal_mils. /test_data_logs. Each file was a blade, sharp and ready. But evidence alone wasn't enough. I needed something bigger. Something that would flip the entire company upside down and force the truth into the light. I needed a plan that hit the people who betrayed me exactly where it hurt. First step? Figure out how deep this setup really went. I opened the audit logs I downloaded last week, the ones IT didn't know I had. I didn't expect to find anything shocking. But what I saw made my chest tighten. There were login attempts using my credentials on days I wasn't even in the building. Some successful. Some failed. All from one device. A device registered under Tyler Wells. My brother had been using my identity for months. Not once. Not accidentally. Not in a moment of desperation. This was planned. But then I scrolled deeper. There were deletion chains tied to my name. File transfers. Data movements. Emails appearing as if I sent them, emails I never wrote. Unauthorized access. Client data extraction. The exact accusations used to suspend me. My hands turned cold. Tyler didn't just want my project. He wanted me destroyed. He wanted me gone so he could take my place beside our father. I closed the logs and leaned back in my chair, breathing slow and controlled. Rage would only cloud my mind. I needed clarity. The truth was simple. This wasn't petty jealousy. This wasn't a family fight. This was a corporate execution. A calculated attempt to rewrite the company's future and erase me from the story completely. But he made one mistake. He left fingerprints all over the crime scene. I checked the time. 3:41 p.m. My father would still be in his office. Tyler would be passing around lies, pretending to celebrate his project. I imagined them laughing, calling me unstable, irresponsible, incompetent. But let them laugh now, because they wouldn't be laughing much longer. I opened a contact I hadn't spoken to in a long time, Emily Turner, a senior financial auditor who used to work with me on compliance checks. Smart. Someone who hated corruption more than anything. We used to get along well, until Tyler flirted with her and ruined everything between us. She stopped coming to meetings, stopped talking to me, stopped responding to emails. But I didn't need friendship. I needed a professional. I texted only 2 words. Emergency audit? She replied in less than 5 minutes. Where? When? That was all the confirmation I needed. If someone like Emily smelled wrongdoing, she didn't stop until she had every piece of evidence. Tomorrow, I'll bring everything. I closed my laptop and exhaled slowly. Step 1. Find the truth. Step 2. Secure an ally. Step 3. Plan the revenge. My father taught me many things, cold things, strategic things, but he forgot the most important one. Never underestimate a quiet man. When I reached home that night, something unexpected happened. There was a package on my doorstep. No name. No label. Just a white envelope inside a plain cardboard box. I opened it carefully, expecting something stupid. A sympathy card, maybe a job offer from a recruiter who heard the gossip. But no. Inside was a single USB drive. And a note written in shaky handwriting. You don't know me. But I know what they did. Be careful. They're not done. I stared at the note for a long time, hearing my heartbeat in my ears. Someone inside Wells Tech knew what happened. Someone who wasn't on my side, but wasn't on theirs either. I plugged the USB into my laptop. Inside were screenshots, pictures of emails between Tyler and one of the board members. Emails planning my suspension. Emails preparing false evidence. Emails discussing how to take Neuroflow out of Jason's hands permanently. My stomach dropped. This wasn't just Tyler. This was a board-level conspiracy. They weren't just stealing my project. They were planning to steal the entire company from my father and blame everything on me. I sat there in silence, holding the USB drive, realizing something terrifying. I wasn't the only target. My father was next. Tyler wasn't trying to impress him. He was trying to replace him. And if I didn't act fast, Wells Tech would collapse, and my father would never see it coming. I closed my laptop, grabbed my notebook, and started writing the real plan. Not just revenge. Not just justice. A takeover plan. If they wanted to erase me, if they wanted to destroy the company, then I would do the one thing they never expected. I would take the company back. Piece by piece. Quietly. Legally. Brutally. And when the truth finally exploded, I wanted every person who hurt me to feel it. I didn't sleep that night. Not even for a minute. I laid on my couch staring at the ceiling, replaying every second of the last 12 hours. My father suspending me. Tyler smirking. The lies. The USB drive. The secret emails. The unknown whistleblower warning me that the attack wasn't over. Everything pointed to one truth. This wasn't just betrayal. This was a hostile takeover. And the worst part? My father had no idea he was being targeted. He thought he was protecting the company. He thought he was punishing a disobedient son. He couldn't see the knife pointed at his own back. Around 5:30 a.m., when the sky was still dark and the city was quiet, I made a decision that would define everything that came next. I wasn't just going to prove my innocence. I wasn't just going to destroy Tyler's lies. I wasn't just going to take back Neuroflow. I was going to save the company, even if my father never forgave me for it. And to do that, I needed information. Real information. The kind people hide behind locked servers and private chats. I needed to find out who else was involved. At exactly 7 a.m., I drove to the only place where I could get answers without alerting anyone, my mother's house. She lived alone after the divorce, something my father pretended never happened. She had no interest in the company, no interest in corporate politics, and absolutely no interest in the drama between my father and me, which made her the safest person to talk to. When she opened the door, she took one look at my face and said, "Come in. You look like you've been hit by a truck." I sat at her kitchen counter while she made coffee the same way she always had, slow, careful, and strong enough to wake the dead. "What happened, Jason?" she asked softly. I told her everything. From my suspension, to the conspiracy, to the USB drive, to the fact someone inside the company was risking everything to warn me. She didn't interrupt. She didn't panic. She just listened. When I finished, she sat quietly for a long moment, fingers wrapped around her coffee mug. Finally, she said, "I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you a long time ago." My stomach tightened. Her voice dropped low. "Your father isn't as in control of Wells Tech as you think. There are people on the board who have been trying to push him out for years." "What? Why?" "Because the company is too big now. Too profitable. Too independent. They want to partner with a larger corporation for a buyout." She sighed. "Your father refused." That hit me like a punch. A buyout. A corporate takeover. A forced merger. Everything suddenly made sense. If the board could show the company was unstable, if they could blame a massive internal security breach, if they could show my father punished the wrong person, the shareholders would panic. Confidence would drop. Valuation would drop. And the board could force my father to step down. Tyler wasn't just trying to steal my project. He was helping them destroy Dad. I leaned forward. "Do you know who's behind this?" My mom hesitated. "Just one name. But you need to be careful." "Who?" She took a shaky breath. "Carter Harlow." My blood went cold. Carter Harlow, senior board member, billionaire investor, and the same man who once told me, "Your brother is leadership material." "Useful." My mom continued, "He's been pushing for a buyout for 4 years. But your father blocked him every time. And now that Tyler is working closely with him, things have escalated." Of course it was Carter. This wasn't just family betrayal. This was strategic manipulation at the highest level. I stood up, fist tight. "This is bigger than I thought." She reached out and grabbed my hand. "Jason, be smart. These men don't play fair." I looked into her eyes. "I know. That's why I'm going to win." When I left my mother's house, I drove straight to a co-working space downtown. Neutral ground. Public enough to keep me safe. Quiet enough to work. I opened my laptop and plugged in the USB again. If Carter Harlow was truly involved, there had to be a pattern. Payment trails, secret meetings, internal votes, financial movements. The email screenshots were a good start, but they weren't enough. I needed something bulletproof. I opened a folder inside the USB labeled confidential _looks. Inside were hundreds of entries. Payroll adjustments. Unauthorized bonuses. Private communications. Meeting summaries that never appeared in the official records. And then I found it. A hidden budget stream. Buried so deep in the financial reports, most people would never find it. A separate fund worth $4.3 million labeled as Operational Partnership Transfer Program. Approved by Carter Harlow. Co-signed by Tyler Wells. My throat tightened. That was the buyout money. Seed cash for the takeover. Bribe money for anyone who supported them. And they used company funds to build it. That alone could destroy both of them. But then, something even bigger hit me. There was another file in the same folder. A file with my name on it. _elimination_sequence. I clicked it. Inside was a step-by-step plan to remove me permanently from Wells Tech. Suspend him publicly. Delete his accounts. Rewrite commit history. Blame him for unauthorized access. Report him to federal regulators if necessary. My hands went numb. They didn't just want me gone. They wanted me arrested. Ruined. Blacklisted. A man with no career and no future. They wanted to sacrifice me to trigger the takeover. I stared at the screen, breathing heavily. But for every step they planned, I now had evidence. Hard evidence. Enough to bury them all. Enough to take back everything they stole. I smiled slowly. Okay, Carter, I whispered. Hey, Tyler. Let's play. I took screenshots of everything. Encrypted the files. Backed them up 3 different ways. Then I sent Emily a message. Meeting moved to tonight. I found something huge. She answered instantly. Tell me where. I closed my laptop, packed everything, and walked out into the cold air. This was no longer a revenge plan. This was a rescue mission. Rescue myself. Rescue my career. Rescue my father. Rescue the company. They thought erasing me was the final move. But they forgot one thing. I still existed. And I was just getting started. By the time evening reached the city, my mind was set. My hands were steady. My plan was hardening like steel. Emily Turner, the auditor who hated corruption more than anything, agreed to meet me at an old rooftop cafe downtown. It was quiet, private, and the kind of place where secrets didn't echo. I arrived early and chose a corner table facing the entrance. The warm lights above me glowed against the fading sunset. It should have felt peaceful. It didn't. Because if Emily didn't believe me, if she thought I forged the files, if she sided with the board, then I'd be alone. And people like Carter Harlow loved isolating their targets before finishing the attack. At exactly 7:02 p.m., Emily walked in. Sharp suit, hair tied back, eyes sharp enough to cut through lies. She saw me and walked over slowly. You said this was urgent, she said, sitting down. It is, I replied. More than you know. She crossed her arms. Okay, Jason. Tell me. I took out my laptop, plugged in the USB, and slid it toward her. I need you to see something. And I need you to be honest with me, even if the truth hurts. She hesitated, then opened the laptop. For the next 15 minutes, she said nothing. She clicked through the forged login entries, the falsified reports, the hidden budget transfer, the $4.3 million fund, and finally, the file that almost made her drop the laptop. /understanding sequence. She stared at it for a long time. When she finally looked at me, her voice wasn't calm anymore. It wasn't professional. It was angry. Jason, this is criminal. This is organized fraud. They plan to ruin you for a buyout. I know. She leaned closer. Do you understand how big this is? This isn't internal politics. This is federal crime. You're sitting on evidence that could send people to prison. I nodded. And you're telling me your brother is part of this? She asked. He co-signed the transfer fund. He impersonated me. He helped draft the termination plan. Yes. She exhaled slowly. This is bad. Really bad. But then she said something I never expected. Jason, I'm in. I blinked. What? I'm helping you. Whatever it takes. We're going to expose this. The right way. You're not scared? Of Carter Harlow? She scoffed. I've been waiting for a chance to take that man down. For the first time that day, hope flickered inside me. Emily took out her own laptop and connected a secure external drive. We need to organize everything, she said. We need a timeline. A clean story. Evidence grouped properly. No holes. I watched her work. In 10 minutes, she created a folder structure, the timeline chart, the forensic report template, a legal escalation document, a witness list. Professional. Dude. Dangerous. This is how we trap them, she said. Not with emotion. Not with accusations. With precision. I nodded. Emily, I need your help with something else too. She paused. What? I want you to find out who else is involved. Who on the board voted with Carter. Who met with Tyler. Who approved budget transfers. Her eyes lit with a sharp determination. I can get all of that, she said. But I need access. You'll have it, I said. Everything. She leaned forward, eyes serious. Jason, the board will go after you. They'll threaten you. They'll try to silence you. I know. Your father won't believe you at first. I know. And Tyler. I cut her off. I don't care what Tyler thinks. She nodded. Good. Because after this, He won't be your brother anymore. When Emily left to prepare her reports, I stayed at the cafe. My coffee had gone cold, but my mind felt electric. Then my phone buzzed. A known number. I usually ignore those, but something told me to pick up. Hello. A voice whispered on the other end, low, nervous. Is this Jason Wells? Yes. Who is this? I can't say my name. They're watching everything. My heart climbed into my throat. Are you the one who sent the USB? A brief silence. Yes. I pressed the phone tighter against my ear. Why are you helping me? Because they think I'm on their side. But I'm not. They forced me into this. How many people are involved? Another silence. A long one. It's not just Carter and Tyler. The board is split. 3 are with Carter. 2 are on your father's side. And 1 is pretending to be neutral but is helping both sides. My jaw tightened. A double agent. Why are they doing this? I asked. Because Wells Tech is worth too much. The new automation platform? It's worth billions in the next decade. They want to sell it before your father realizes its true value. Of course. NeuroFlow wasn't just good, it was revolutionary. And Jason, the voice continued, trembling, they think you're too loyal to your father. Too honest. Too predictable. That makes you a threat. I exhaled slowly. So they want me gone? Yes. The voice dropped even lower. And if the suspension doesn't ruin you, they're planning something else. What? I can't say it on the phone. But it's worse. Much worse. My heartbeat spiked. What do you mean worse? But the voice whispered only 3 words before hanging up. They want leverage. I froze. Leverage? That meant blackmail. Or false charges. Or personal attacks. They weren't done destroying me. They were just getting started. I sat there in the darkness, gripping my phone, feeling the anger settle deep in my spine, not explosive anymore, but cold, steady, controlled. If this was a war, then I needed an army. And I already had the first soldier, Emily. But I would need more. People inside the company. People on the outside. People who hated corruption as much as I did. Because Carter had power. The board had power. Tyler had my father's trust. But I had something stronger. The truth. And I was done hiding. By the next morning, I had a new rule for myself. Never fight alone. If Carter and the corrupted board members were playing chess, then I needed more than evidence. I needed people, smart people, loyal people, people who wanted justice more than fear. And the first person I needed to talk to was someone everyone in Wells Tech underestimated. Noah Price, senior cybersecurity engineer. Noah was quiet, reserved, a ghost in the office. But he could dig through digital footprints better than anyone in the entire building. And more importantly, he hated Tyler. When I showed up at his apartment, he opened the door with messy hair and a half-eaten donut in his hand. Jason, he blinked. Bro, aren't you suspended? Shouldn't you be hiding in a cave or something? Can I come in? I asked. He stepped aside. Sure. Just don't touch anything. My room is collecting research. Translation. It was a mess. A jungle of wires, monitors, energy drinks, and whatever was left of his last 3 meals. Noah dropped into his chair and spun slowly. So, what's going on? I took a deep breath. Tyler and some board members set me up. They're planning a hostile takeover of the company. My father doesn't know. For a moment, Noah said nothing. Then he burst out laughing. Of course he is. I told you Tyler was a snake wrapped in a discount suit. That man once tried to claim credit for resetting the office Wi-Fi. I didn't laugh. And when Noah saw my expression, his smile faded. Wait, you're serious? I connected my laptop to his monitor and showed him the logs. The fake login attempts. The forged emails. The budget transfer. The digital signature traces. The termination plan. Noah leaned in, his eyes widening with every click. This is massive, he whispered. This isn't a little scheme. This is organized, Jason. I know. Dude, this could send people to prison. I know. He turned in his chair, serious now. What do you want from me? I need you to track digital trails, I said. Find out who actually modified those files. Trace the forged entries. Locate the device Tyler used. And I need confirmation of something even bigger. What? Someone inside the company is spying on both sides, feeding information back and forth. Noah's brows narrowed. A double agent? Exactly. He cracked his knuckles. I can find them, but I need full access. And time. Lots of time. You'll have both. Then he asked the one question I wasn't ready for. Jason, what are you planning to do once we have everything? I didn't hesitate. I'm going to destroy the people who tried to destroy me. By afternoon, Emily and I met again, this time at her private office. It was filled with files, charts, and legal documents that looked too complicated for anyone who wasn't a professional auditor. Jason, she said as I walked in, I analyzed everything you sent, and we have a problem. My stomach tightened. What kind of problem? She pulled up a file labeled Q4_audit_adjustments. These adjustments appeared 3 hours after your suspension, she said. Someone rewrote your financial contributions for the last 3 years. How bad is it? Bad, she said. Like, they made it look like you cost the company money. Like you made poor decisions. Like you weren't contributing at all. My jaw dropped. So now it looks like I'm incompetent. She nodded. Jason, they're preparing to accuse you of negligence. Not just hacking. I ran a hand through my hair. So they want to destroy my reputation too. Yes, she said. They want no one to believe you. She grabbed my wrist gently. But listen to me. They're sloppy. Very sloppy. When people rush a cover-up, they leave holes. And guess what? She clicked a few files. They left several holes. I exhaled, relief washing through me. She continued, but we have another problem. Something bigger. Emily, I said carefully, you're scaring me. She looked straight into my eyes. Your father signed one of the forged documents. My heart stopped. What? Look at this. She turned the screen toward me. It was a digital signature approval. Signed by Richard Wells. Time, 2:17 p.m. Date, yesterday. A date when my father was in meetings all afternoon. A time when he couldn't have been anywhere near those files. A moment when Tyler was alone in my father's office. My father didn't sign this, I whispered. No, Emily said. He didn't. Someone forged his signature using his private encryption key. I froze. How could someone get his private key? Emily swallowed. There's only one way. She paused. Someone close to him, someone he trusts, gave it to them. It felt like the ground beneath me shifted. The board. Tyler. My father's encrypted key. Someone in the top circle was feeding Carter everything. The mole wasn't small. The mole wasn't scared. The mole wasn't random. The mole was powerful. A senior executive. Maybe even one of my father's closest advisors. Someone who had access to his office. Someone who had access to his files. Someone who could get signatures, without suspicion. And then I realized, this wasn't just about destroying me. It wasn't even just about replacing my father. This was a full corporate coup. As I stood there trying to process everything, Noah texted me. Bro, I found something. Call me now. I stepped outside and dialed him instantly. He answered on the first ring. Jason, you're not going to believe this. What happened? I checked the metadata on the forged login attempts. The IP address used wasn't Tyler's personal device. It wasn't his office. It wasn't even inside Wells Tech. My heartbeat spiked. Then where was it? A private apartment in downtown. Registered under a shell company. And who owns the shell company? Noah inhaled sharply. Carter Harlow. My stomach twisted. This wasn't just Tyler trying to impress the board. This was Carter orchestrating every move. Using my brother. Using forged signatures. Using shell companies. Using hacked access. I tightened my grip around my phone, feeling the anger transform into something colder, sharper. Jason, Noah said quietly, this whole thing was Carter's plan from the start. I closed my eyes. And Tyler was his puppet. Yes. Everything clicked into place. Tyler didn't come up with the plan. Tyler wasn't smart enough. Tyler didn't understand corporate strategy. Carter used my brother like a chess piece. And if I didn't stop him soon, he would take everything. My project, my career, my father's company, my father's control, our family's entire legacy, all of it, gone. Unless I fought back. I went back to Emily's office. Emily, I said, my voice steady, we're not just collecting evidence anymore. She looked up, eyebrows raised. What are we doing then? We're building a case that will take Carter down, shatter his allies, expose the corruption, and force the board to choose between honesty or destruction. Emily nodded slowly. And what about Tyler? I didn't hesitate. Tyler made his choice. Now he'll face the consequences. She sighed. It's going to get ugly. I know. She closed her laptop and stood. Okay, Jason. Then let's begin. The next morning, I woke up with a different energy. Not fear. Not anxiety. Not anger. Focus. A sharp, dangerous focus that didn't shake anymore. Carter had the board. Tyler had my father. Someone had stolen my father's encrypted key. Someone was rewriting company documents to show me as incompetent. But I had something they didn't. I had nothing left to lose. When a man has nothing left to lose, he becomes unpredictable. When he becomes unpredictable, he becomes dangerous. When he becomes dangerous, he becomes someone even powerful men should fear. And today, I decided to make the first move. Emily and I met early, this time in a quiet underground parking garage where no one could listen. She handed me a sealed envelope. This is it, she said. The forensic audit summary. Everything neatly organized and written in the most boring, legal way possible. I smirked. Perfect. No one can scream bias or emotion, she continued. It's pure numbers, pure facts. What's our plan? I asked. She crossed her arms. We leak it to someone who has more power than Carter. I frowned. There's only one person who fits that description. Emily nodded. Your father. I hesitated. My father, Richard Wells, wasn't a gentle man. He wasn't the type to apologize, even when he was wrong. He believed he was always right, always justified, always in control. Showing him evidence that his golden child, Tyler, was the traitor? Showing him the board was manipulating him? Showing him that his company was being stolen from under his nose? That could go two ways. He believes the truth and fights with me, that he refuses to believe anything and pushes me further away. I took a deep breath. He won't listen to me, I said. Not after what happened. Emily gave me a small, confident smile. That's why you're not delivering it. I blinked. Who is? She tossed me her car keys. You're going to drop this envelope directly in front of his house. Anonymous delivery. No name. No trace. No voice. How will he know it's real? She pulled out the final page of the report. At the bottom was a sentence written in simple text. Only the truth can save what you built. A friend. This, she said, will make him read it. Trust me. I stared at the envelope in my hand, feeling its weight, not physically but emotionally. This could blow everything open, or it could make everything worse. But I had no choice. That afternoon, I parked across the street from my father's large, cold-looking house. The same house I grew up in. The same house where Tyler and I used to fight over the TV remote. The same house where my father taught me to be strong, be silent, be useful. It looked different now. Darker. More distant. I stepped out of the car, crossed the street, and walked up the driveway. Every step felt heavier. I placed the envelope at the front door, knocked once, and turned away without looking back. I reached my car, sat inside, and exhaled shakily. Now I had to wait. It didn't take long. At 5:47 p.m., my phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't know. Who sent this? I stared at the screen, knowing exactly who it was. My father. He didn't say hello. He didn't say my name. He didn't say he missed me or wanted to talk. Sent this. Someone who wants you to know the truth. A full minute passed before he replied again. Is this real? I hesitated, then typed. Every line. Another minute. 3. Jason, come to my office. Tonight. 8 p.m. My chest tightened. This was it. The confrontation. The moment everything might break. The moment he might finally see what his favorite son had done. Or the moment he might turn on me harder than ever. I took a deep breath. I'll be there, I replied. When I entered Wells Tech headquarters, everything felt foreign. The hallways. The elevators. The security desk. Like the building itself had turned its back on me. But I walked straight to the top floor, the CEO's office. My father was standing by the window, staring out at the city with a glass of whiskey in his hand. He didn't turn around when I entered. Close the door, he said. I did. Silence stretched between us. Finally he spoke. Where did you get those files? From someone inside the company. Who? I don't know. Why now? Because they tried to destroy me. He slowly turned, his eyes tired, older than I remembered. Jason, he said softly, do you know what you're accusing your brother of? Yes, I said. And I have proof. He set the whiskey down and picked up the audit summary. I read everything. And? I asked. His jaw worked. His eyes flicked across my face, searching for something. Maybe truth. Maybe guilt. Maybe the son he lost. Then he said 4 words I didn't expect. I don't believe you. The air left my lungs. What? He stepped closer. You expect me to believe Tyler would betray this family? Betray me? He already did, I said, my voice shaking with restrained rage. He forged documents. He rewrote logs. He stole my work. He used your encrypted key. Enough, he shouted, hitting the desk hard. I flinched. My father glared at me, eyes filled with fury. You're angry because you were suspended. You're angry because your brother is stepping up. This is jealousy, Jason. Jealousy. He thought I did all of this because I was jealous. I felt something break inside me. Not pain. Not sadness. A clean, sharp break, like a rope snapping. You think I made this up? I whispered. Yes, he said coldly. And I want you out of this building. Now. Before I could speak, the door flew open. A man rushed in, breathless, panicked, sweating. The compliance director. Mr. Wells, he gasped. Sir, we have a problem. My father turned, irritated. What is it? The director swallowed hard. It's the audit report, sir. The one left at your home. My father's jaw tightened. What about it? The director's voice trembled. It was forwarded to the SEC. My father froze. I froze. What? He whispered. It was automatically sent at 7 p.m. Sir, they're opening an investigation. My father turned toward me, slowly, eyes wide. Jason, what did you do? I stepped back, stunned. I didn't send it, I said. I swear. The director whispered. It wasn't Jason. The automatic delivery came from inside the building. Inside the building. My father looked at me. I looked at him. And then he finally understood. Someone far bigger than me had blown the whistle. For a moment, everything inside my father's office fell completely silent. No breathing. No movement. No words. Just shock. Pure culture. The compliance director stood by the door, his face pale and sweaty. My father stood stiff, gripping his desk so hard his knuckles turned white. And I stood frozen, replaying his last accusation in my head. Jason, what did you do? But he knew now. We both knew. Someone else sent the audit report to the SEC. Someone inside the building. Someone who wasn't on my side. But wasn't on Carter's side either. A wild card. A ghost. Someone who wanted the truth exposed, no matter who burned in the process. My father was the first to break the silence. He turned sharply to the compliance director. Who accessed the report? The director swallowed. We're still checking, sir. But the system shows the email came from an internal terminal on the 15th floor. 15? My father repeated slowly. The director nodded. Yes, sir. My heart stopped. The 15th floor was executive level. The boardrooms, private offices, high-level labs. Only senior executives, directors, and my father's closest circle had access. Someone from the top betrayed everyone. My father's face hardened. Shut down access to that floor. Lock every account. And bring me the activity logs. Yes, sir, the director said, running out. My father slowly turned toward me. His voice was low, almost exhausted. Jason, if this investigation opens formally. I cut him off with a whisper. It already did. His eyes widened. They don't wait for invitations, I said. The moment they see something suspicious, they move. He sank into his chair, rubbing his temples. This could destroy us. No, I said, stepping closer. This could destroy the people who tried to destroy us. He lifted his eyes to mine. For the first time in years, he didn't look like a CEO. He looked like a man, confused, overwhelmed, and unsure of who to trust. And then he said something I never expected. Jason, tell me everything. I froze. Everything? I asked. Yes, he said quietly. No more secrets. No more walls. Tell me what you know. My heart pounded painfully. This was the moment I had wanted for years. A chance for him to see me, not as a disappointment, not as a threat, not as a shadow behind Tyler, but as a son. A real one. And so I told him. I told him about the forged login attempts, the deleted files, the altered financial reports, the $4.3 million bribe fund hidden in the budgets, the shell company tied to Carter, the termination plan with my name on it, the forged signature using his encrypted key, his own encrypted key. At that, he stood up and slammed his fist into the desk. They used my key, he whispered, voice trembling with rage. Yes, I said. Someone close to you gave them access. He paced back and forth, jaw tight, shoulders rigid. Who? He demanded. Who could have done it? I wanted to answer. I wanted to give him a name. But the truth was, I didn't know yet. There's a mole, I said. Someone high-ranking. Someone you trust, maybe too much. He stopped walking. And in that moment, I saw fear in his eyes. Real fear. He wasn't worried for himself. He was worried for the company. My father never feared people. But he feared losing what he built. The company was his life. His identity. His pride. And someone was dismantling it from the inside. He looked at me again. Jason, can you prove all this? Yes, I said. Emily is organizing everything. And Noah is tracing the digital evidence. I expected him to be angry I involved outsiders. But instead he nodded slowly. That's good, he said. Very good. A long silence followed. Then he whispered the words I never imagined I'd hear. I'm sorry. I felt the air leave my lungs. I should have listened to you, he said, voice breaking slightly. I should have questioned Tyler. I should have questioned the board. I failed you. I swallowed hard, forcing down the emotions rising in my throat. It's not too late, I said. We can still fix this. He nodded. But then, there was a knock at the door. A loud, urgent one. My father opened the door. A security guard rushed in, breathless. Sir, he started, panting. What happened? My father demanded. The guard swallowed hard. There was an attempt to destroy physical records. My father stiffened. Where? The finance archive room. A chill ran down my spine. That room stored backup contracts, vendor agreements, budget approvals, encrypted drives, and Neuroflow's financial history. Everything Carter would want destroyed. My father barked, "Show me the footage." The guard plugged a tablet into the desk and opened the security feed. We watched the recording. At 6:52 p.m., a figure entered the finance archive room. Hood up, gloves on, moving fast. They carried a small bag filled with accelerants. They were preparing to burn the room. Burn the evidence. Burn the truth. But when they turned toward the camera, when the hood slipped back just a little, when the face appeared for half a second, my blood froze. My father gasped. It was Tyler. My own brother. My father stepped back, shaking. No, he whispered. No, he wouldn't. But there he was. Caught on camera. Destroying evidence. Sabotaging records. Committing a felony. Cold. Calculated. Fearless. I couldn't breathe. The truth I had tried to show my father for days was now on the screen in front of him. And finally, painfully, unmistakably, he believed me. My father sank into his chair, face pale. I raised a monster, he whispered. I put a hand on the desk, steadying myself. No, I said softly. You trusted the wrong person. But now we fight. He looked up at me with something I had never seen before. Not anger. Not disappointment. But trust. Jason, he said, voice steadying, help me take back my company. I nodded. I will. But deep inside, one thought echoed louder than anything. If Tyler was willing to burn evidence, what would he destroy next? For a long moment after watching the footage, my father didn't speak. He just sat there, eyes fixed on the paused security video, Tyler frozen mid-step, holding a bag of accelerants inside the finance archive room. His golden child. His future CEO. His leadership material. Caught destroying evidence. My father's breathing grew uneven. His jaw clenched so hard I thought he might crack a tooth. I spoke first. I'm sorry. He didn't look at me. This is my fault, he whispered. I made him this way. I shook my head. No. Carter did. Carter, my father repeated softly, like the name physically hurt him. Then his expression changed. Something inside him shifted, slow, dark, dangerous. The CEO returned. And he was angry. He stood up so fast his chair rolled back violently. Jason, he said, voice like steel, we're not hiding this. We're not covering it. We're not negotiating. I nodded. We expose it. No, he said. We weaponize it. He marched toward the door, but I stepped in front of him. Wait. He stopped. You can't confront Tyler yet, I said firmly. He'll run. Or worse, he'll destroy more evidence before we stop him. My father glared at me, frustrated but listening. Then what do you suggest? He demanded. We move carefully, I said. We're building a case. We need timing. Precision. He exhaled hard. I'm done losing time. I know, I said gently. But trust me, rushing now will give Carter exactly what he wants. My father closed his eyes for a second. And finally, he nodded. Fine. Lead the way. We locked ourselves in the small conference room behind his office, somewhere no one ever went. My father placed his phone on the table, removed the battery, and slid it across the surface. No recording devices, he said. Good, I replied, doing the same. Because we're planning something big. My father leaned forward. Tell me everything you've built so far. I laid out the plan. The digital logs proving forged access. The fake financial adjustments. The hidden $4.3 million fund. The emails from Carter's shell company. The termination plan with my name. The whistleblower. The connection to the SEC. Tyler caught on camera. My father listened carefully, his expression hardening with every detail. When I finished, he asked quietly, How long have you been dealing with this? I hesitated. Months, I said. I didn't know it was this big, but I knew something was wrong. He stared at me with a strange expression. You didn't tell me. You wouldn't have believed me. He didn't deny it. Instead, he whispered, I'm sorry. Finn. The second apology in 24 hours. But before I could respond, the door opened. My father's assistant rushed in, face pale. Sir, you need to see this. What now? He snapped. She handed him her tablet. My father's eyes widened. He turned the screen toward me. A headline glowed on the business news site. Wellstech internal whistleblower reports massive security breach. Leaked document implicates O's son. My stomach dropped. A leaked document. Implication. Security breach. I scrolled down. There was a redacted version of the audit summary Emily wrote. Not the full one. Not the clean one. Not the version we organized. This was a modified version, One that made it look like the breach came from me. Not Tyler. Not Carter. Sources close to the matter suggest that senior developer Jason Wells accessed secure servers without authorization. My heart pounded. My throat tightened. What the hell is this? I whispered. My father looked horrified. They're framing you again, he said. In public this time. Another notification appeared. Another headline. Board members call for immediate termination of Jason Wells. Another. So under pressure after new evidence emerges. Another. Insider. Jason Wells may face federal inquiry. I felt dizzy. They're trying to bury me, I said. No, my father said sharply. They're trying to bury us both. His assistant swallowed. There's more. She opened a live video feed. My heart dropped. Standing at a podium in the main lobby, surrounded by cameras and microphones, was Carter Harlow. And beside him, looking polished and confident, Tyler, my own brother, giving a statement. My father and I listened in silence as Tyler spoke into the microphones. Wells Tech has suffered a major internal breach. Files were accessed improperly. Financials were manipulated. And company property was compromised. He paused dramatically. I clenched my fists. While the investigation continues, Tyler continued, the evidence suggests a member of our leadership acted alone and against company interests. My father growled, he wouldn't dare. But Tyler did. He smiled at the cameras. The individual responsible is Jason Wells. The room erupted in gasps. My father slammed his fist onto the table. That little. I grabbed his arm before he stormed out. Don't, I said. You can't confront him publicly. That's what Carter wants. He just accused you of federal crimes, my father shouted. I know, I said through clenched teeth. But we need to be smarter than him. My father paced angrily. Then the worst part happened. Carter stepped to the microphone and spoke with fake sadness. We are committed to transparency. Jason's behavior is deeply unfortunate, but Wells Tech will continue on a path of integrity. I felt sick. Carter wasn't just framing me. He was preparing the world for a takeover. Because if a corrupt son caused instability, then the board could justify removing the CEO, removing my father, replacing him, and the new era of Wells Tech would begin, with Tyler as the puppet CEO. Unless I stopped it. Unless we stopped it. I turned to my father. His face was red with fury, eyes narrowed with betrayal. I warned you, I whispered. Tyler isn't the leader you thought he was. My father grabbed my shoulder. And I warned you, he said, never let corruption win. A long moment passed. Then he said the words that sealed our alliance. Jace, let's end this. I grabbed my laptop. Emily grabbed her files. Noah called with updates. My father called legal. And together, we began building the counterstrike that would crush the board's lies and expose the entire conspiracy. They thought the leak would destroy me. But it only proved one thing. They were scared. Scared enough to rush. Scared enough to expose themselves. Scared enough to reveal their desperation. And desperate men make mistakes. Big ones. The moment Carter's press conference ended, my father and I stood in the small conference room staring at the screen like it was replaying a nightmare. My own brother. Standing beside the man trying to destroy our family. Publicly framing me for federal crimes. My father's chest rose and fell like a man who was about to explode. Jason, he said in a low, controlled voice. We are not letting them win. For the first time in my life. We were a team. He wasn't the CEO and I wasn't the forgotten son. We were two men fighting for the same truth. I opened my laptop and connected to the secure drive Emily set up. Dad, I said, we need to hit them with something they can't deny. Something the public will believe more than Carter's staged press conference. What do you need from me? He asked. Your authority, I said. Your signature. And your willingness to fight your own board. He didn't even blink. Done, he said. I dialed Emily. She answered immediately. Jason, I saw the press conference, she said. They're trying to make you the fall guy. We have to move fast. We're ready, I said. Send the first draft. She uploaded a file. I clicked it. Wellstech Internal Investigation, Preliminary Statement. This, she explained, is a counter-narrative. You and your father release this publicly. I read the statement. It acknowledged a breach. It stated the board was cooperating with federal authorities. It mentioned evidence tampering by multiple individuals. It emphasized that the company was misled. It never mentioned me, but it highlighted internal sabotage from trusted personnel. My father read it over my shoulder and nodded slowly. This puts pressure on the board, he said. It makes them look complicit. That's the point, Emily replied. We release it tonight, I said. Yes, she agreed. But Jason, there's something else. Her tone changed. Urgent. Serious. What is it? I asked. Someone tried to access the forensic report again. 15 minutes ago. Who? I asked. I don't know. But they were blocked. Dad, I said, turning to him, the mole knows what we have. And they're panicking, he replied. Before Emily could say more, Noah called. I answered. Noah? His voice was shaky. Bro, you need to get to the building. Now. What happened? It's the 15th floor, he said. Jason, it's chaos. My father and I exchanged a look. We're coming, I said. The drive to Wells Tech felt like moving in fast forward. My father gripped the steering wheel with white knuckles. I checked my laptop over and over, making sure the evidence was backed up. To us. 3 drives. 2 clouds. 1 offline vault. If Carter wanted to destroy evidence now, he'd have to burn half the planet. When we arrived, security guards rushed forward. Sir, one of them said to my father, the 15th floor is locked down. The board called an emergency meeting. Without the so? My father asked coldly. They said you were compromised, the guard whispered. My father looked like he might punch a wall. Open the damn elevator, he growled. The guard hesitated. My father stepped forward, eyes blazing. Son, he said to me, step back. I stepped aside. My father got close enough to the guard that their noses were almost touching. I am Richard Wells, he said softly, dangerously. The founder. The man who signs your paycheck. And if you don't open that elevator in the next 3 seconds, I will personally remove every board member from this building myself. The guard swallowed hard, then pressed his keycard. The elevator doors opened. The moment we stepped onto the 15th floor, I understood why Noah said it was chaos. People were running. Phones were ringing nonstop. Assistants whispered urgently in corners. And at the far end of the hallway, the boardroom doors were closed, but shouting leaked through the cracks. My father and I walked fast. When we reached the door, I could hear Carter's voice. Richard is compromised. We cannot allow him to control the narrative. Another board member shouted. We need to distance ourselves. Another. The report is already in federal hands. This is bigger than loyalty. My father grabbed the door handle. Dad, I whispered, we need to be strategic. He looked at me, eyes blazing. No more waiting. He shoved the door open. The confrontation. The room went silent. 12 board members. Carter. Tyler. All staring at us like ghosts had walked in. My father stepped forward. Meeting without the CO? He asked calmly. Carter stood up, fake confidence radiating off him. Richard, you are unstable, right? My father cut him off with a raised hand. Sit down. The room froze. Even Carter hesitated before slowly lowering back into his chair. My father placed both hands on the table. Let me make one thing clear, he said, voice cold and steady. I built this company. I know every brick, every dollar, every line of code. So if anyone thinks they can remove me without a fight, they don't understand who I am. His eyes swept across the room. And they don't understand who my son is. Tyler flinched. Dad, he began. My father turned to him sharply. Be quiet. Tyler shut his mouth instantly. Then my father nodded at me. Jason, he said, show them. My heart hammered as I stepped forward. I connected my laptop to the big screen. The files appeared. The forged logs. The altered finances. The shell company payments. The hidden takeover fund. The forged signature. Tyler's face in the archive room. Gasps filled the room. One board member whispered, "My God." Another dropped his pen. Carter clenched his jaw. "How did you get these?" he demanded. I smiled coldly. "You taught me to cover my tracks," I said. "Too bad you never learned how to cover yours." For a moment, silence. Then Carter spoke. This is fabricated." Before I could respond, my father slammed his hand onto the table. "Enough." He pointed directly at Carter. "You tried to destroy my son." He pointed at Tyler. "You corrupted my family." He pointed at the rest. "And you tried to take my company." His voice lowered. "You are all finished." The room erupted. Board members yelling. Accusations flying. Panic rising. And then, the door opened. The compliance director walked in. "Everyone," he said loudly, "I need your attention." The room quieted. He held up a letter. "An official investigation has begun. Effective immediately. The SEC has frozen all board authority." My father's eyes widened. Mine did too. The director continued. "Until the investigation is complete, the only person allowed to make executive decisions is—" I held my breath. "Jason Wells." The room exploded. My knees almost buckled. Tyler shot up from his chair. "What?" he screamed. "No. This is a joke." My father closed his eyes, relief washing over him. Carter's face turned white. I could barely breathe. The director handed me the letter. "This was triggered automatically," he said, "based on the evidence sent in." Then he added quietly, "and on an internal recommendation from an unidentified whistleblower." The ghost again. Someone was still helping me. Someone powerful. Someone close. My heart raced. The boardroom erupted into chaos. And for the first time, I had power. Real, legal, federal power. The war wasn't over. But the battlefield had shifted. In my favor. For a moment, after the compliance director announced the SEC's decision, the boardroom turned into a battlefield. People stood. People shouted. People grabbed their phones. People demanded lawyers, demanded explanations, demanded answers. But all I felt was stillness. Not shock. Not fear. A heavy, oppressive stillness. Like the air right before a thunderstorm cracks the sky open. The director handed me the letter again. "Jason Wells is granted temporary authority over internal review procedures." Temporary authority. Over the board. Over the executives. Over the people who tried to destroy me. Tyler lunged toward the director. "This is fake," he yelled. "It's fabricated. Jason did this. He set all this up." My father stepped in front of him, voice ice cold. "Sit down." Tyler ignored him. "Dad, you can't let them give him power. He hacked the system." My father's voice thundered across the room. "Sit down." Tyler froze. He had never heard that tone before. Neither had I. He sat down slowly, jaw clenched, eyes burning with rage. My father turned to me, quieter now. "Jason," he said, "what will you do?" For once, he wasn't giving orders. He wasn't assuming. He wasn't judging. He was asking. And I had waited my entire life for that. With the devices collected, Emily and 2 compliance officers took them away for analysis. The moment they were gone, I turned to Tyler. His face was pale. His breathing shallow. His confidence gone. "Tyler," I said quietly, "you destroyed evidence." He shook his head violently. "No, I didn't know what I was doing. Carter told me." Carter snapped. "Shut up." Tyler flinched but kept talking, desperation pouring out. He said it was an old storage room. He said it was junk. He said, "Tyler," Carter barked again. But this time, my brother didn't stop. He pointed at Carter. "It was him. All of it. He convinced me. He told me Jason was planning to steal the company. He told me Dad was going to replace me." Carter stood, seething with rage. "You pathetic child." And then, the entire board gasped. Because Carter finally snapped. He slammed his hands onto the table and shouted, "Yes, I used you. Because you're weak. Because you're predictable. Because your father would never suspect his good son of betrayal." The confession echoed through the room. I measured every word, every facial twitch, every sign of panic. This was the crack I'd been waiting for. My father whispered, "My son." Not me. Tyler. And for a brief moment I felt sorry for him. Just a moment. Then it was gone. Right as Carter finished screaming, my phone buzzed. A known number. I answered. Jason Wells. A calm, professional voice responded. "Mr. Wells, this is Special Agent Monroe with the Securities and Exchange Commission." My entire body tensed. "This morning's report triggered an immediate investigation," she continued. "We will arrive at Wells Tech headquarters within the hour." The board collectively panicked. Tyler's face drained of color. Carter sat down slowly. My father's eyes widened. "Understood," I said calmly. "We'll be ready." Monroe continued. "One more thing. The redacted report sent earlier today did not match the original." I exchanged looks with my father. "We know," I said. "We have the real one." "That's good," she replied. "Because someone tried to alter the narrative to frame you. We're already tracking the source." My heart raced. "Do you know who sent you the original?" Agent Monroe paused. "Yes," she said. Every head in the boardroom turned slightly, leaning in. "Who was it?" I asked. Her answer froze my blood. It came from an internal Wells Tech address belonging to. She paused again. "Your mother." I stopped breathing. My father's face went blank. The board stared. Tyler's jaw dropped. "My mother?" I whispered. "Yes." She sent us the full unedited audit with a personal statement. Said she feared for your safety. My father's hand fell from the table. "Jessica?" he whispered. Everything inside me spun. My mother. The woman who lived far away from the corporate madness. The woman who divorced my father years ago. The woman who always told me to stay honest, no matter what happens. She was the whistleblower. The ghost. The ally. The unseen protector. "I don't understand," I whispered into the phone. Agent Monroe replied gently. She said she expected her former husband and her eldest son wouldn't believe her if she warned them directly. My throat tightened. I understood now. She warned me. She protected me. She forced the truth into the light because she knew neither my father nor the company would act until the SEC stepped in. The boardroom spun around me. "You there, Mr. Wells?" Agent Monroe asked. I swallowed hard. "Yes. I'm here." "Good," she said. "We'll speak again soon." The call ended. I lowered the phone slowly. My father stared at me. "Jason," he whispered, "your mother, she knew everything?" I nodded, voice soft. "She tried to warn us, and we didn't listen." A deep silence filled the room. Then my father whispered, "We owe her everything." Tyler sank into his chair, defeated. Carter looked like he'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. The board stared at me, not with contempt anymore, but with fear. And I realized something. For the first time, they finally saw me. Not as the quiet one. Not as the shadow. Not as the disposable son. But as the man they couldn't erase. The man who now held their fate in his hands. I breathed out slowly. "Dad." I said softly. "Yes, Jason? Let's finish this." The next hour felt like standing on the edge of a storm. The boardroom was silent now, not by choice, but by fear. Every board member sat stiff in their chair, staring at the door like a monster was about to walk through it. Carter pretended to stay calm, but the sweat on his forehead told the truth. Tyler kept shaking his leg uncontrollably. My father paced by the window, waiting. And me? I sat still. Cold. Ready. Because for the first time, the people who tried to bury me were the ones about to be buried. At exactly 10 a.m., the elevator pinged. Footsteps echoed down the hallway. Then the door opened. 4 SEC agents walked in. Black suits, badges out, expressions sharp and focused. Behind them came 2 forensic investigators carrying equipment cases. And last, a woman in a gray suit with her hair tied in a tight bun. Agent Monroe. She didn't waste a second. "Good morning," she said, voice steady. "We're here for a full internal seizure of company records." The board gasped. Carter stood quickly. "This is outrageous. This company is fully compliant." Monroe cut him off without looking at him. "Mr. Harlow, sit down." And he sat. Just like that. Power had shifted. She turned to me. "You must be Jason Wells." I nodded. She shook my hand firmly. "Thank you for cooperating." Behind me, a few board members whispered. They finally understood. The SEC trusted me, not them. Agent Monroe stepped to the head of the table. "We have reviewed initial evidence," she said. Multiple red flags were found, including falsified internal audit data, forged system logs, and attempts to alter financial records. Carter swallowed hard. My father folded his arms. Agent Monroe continued. "In addition, we traced several suspicious activities to an external location connected to a shell company owned by Carter Harlow." The room erupted in whispers. Carter's face turned chalkwhite. "That's impossible," he said. "You have no proof." Monroe held up a tablet. "We do, including bank transfers, device records, and location metadata." Carter sank back into his chair. Tyler glanced at him, fear mixing with regret, confusion, and devastation. Agent Monroe turned to him. "And you must be Tyler Wells." He straightened his back. "I'm the director of operations." "Not anymore," she said. "You participated in evidence destruction." He blinked rapidly. "That's not true. I didn't know what I was doing. Carter told me." "Mr. Wells," she interrupted, "you were caught on camera destroying financial archives." His voice cracked. I thought it was old junk." My father stepped forward, voice cold as ice. "Tyler, stop lying." Tyler shut his mouth instantly. Agent Monroe nodded at me. "Mr. Wells, we'll need your complete file set." I slid over the secure drive. Everything is here. Original logs, timestamps, backups, and audit summaries. She inspected it briefly. "This is exactly what we needed," she said. "Thank you." The board looked like they wanted to melt into the floor. Agent Monroe looked around the room. "Now, let's discuss charges." "Carter Harlow," she began, "you are under investigation for corporate fraud, evidence manipulation, bribery, and conspiracy to commit hostile takeover by illegal means." Carter stood, shaking. "You can't arrest me." "I didn't say arrest," Monroe said calmly. "But you are legally required to surrender your passport, step away from all Wells Tech decisions, and provide full financial disclosure by end of day." Carter's face twisted with fury. "You'll regret this." Monroe didn't blink. "No, Mr. Harlow. You will." He sat back down, defeated. She turned to Tyler next. "Tyler Wells, you are under review for obstruction of justice, evidence destruction, and participation in internal fraud." He broke. I didn't know," he whispered. "I swear I didn't know. Carter told me Jason was stealing the company. I thought I was protecting Dad. I didn't mean." Agent Monroe raised a hand. "At this stage, your intent doesn't matter. Your actions do." He covered his face with shaking hands. My chest tightened a little. This was still my brother. But he had chosen his side. And now he was facing the consequences of that choice. My father looked at him with a mix of grief and disappointment. "You betrayed your own family," he whispered. Tyler choked a sob. "I'm sorry. But apologies don't fix everything. Not this time." Agent Monroe turned to the board. "3 of you knowingly voted for actions that violated federal compliance," she said. "You will be investigated individually." Panic rippled through them. One woman whispered, My career is over." Another muttered, "We trusted Carter. We trusted the wrong person." Monroe nodded coldly. "That was your mistake." She turned to me last. My stomach tightened. "Jason Wells," she said, "based on our review, you acted as a whistleblower, protected evidence, and prevented further fraud." The board stared at me in shock. She continued, "You are cleared of all accusations. Your suspension is void." And you are recognized for preserving the integrity of this company. My father exhaled shakily. I felt my heart pound. For months, they tried to erase me. Now I stood at the center of the room, validated, protected. Agent Monroe stepped closer. One more thing, she said. Your mother asked us to deliver a message to you. My breath caught. She handed me a sealed note. Simple. Folded once. With my name on it. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside, in my mother's handwriting, were 5 words. I always believed in you. My vision blurred. My heart cracked. My father stepped toward me, voice soft. Jason, what does it say? I swallowed hard. Nothing, I whispered, wiping my eyes. Everything. He put a hand on my shoulder. We'll thank her together, he said. I nodded. For the first time in years, I didn't feel alone. Agent Monroe clapped her hands once. All right. We begin formal interviews now. Everyone remains in the building. Tyler looked at me with red eyes. Jason, can we talk? I didn't answer. Not because I hated him, but because he needed to sit in the reality he created. The man he tried to erase was now the only one who could save him. Irony is cruel like that. After Agent Monroe finished giving instructions, the boardroom emptied into chaos. Compliance officers escorted board members out. Forensic teams spread across the 15th floor. Security guards blocked hallways like an airport lockdown. My father stayed beside me. Tyler did not. He sat alone near the end of the table, head in his hands, shaking. The confidence was gone. The arrogance was gone. The entitlement was gone. All that remained was fear. Fear of the law. Fear of exposure. Fear of losing everything he thought he deserved. I should have felt victorious. But watching him fall didn't feel good. Not yet. Because betrayal cuts 2 ways. No one tells you the truth about revenge. It doesn't erase the pain. It just balances the scoreboard. Agent Monroe approached me. Mr. Wells, she said, we'll begin individual interviews shortly. Is there anyone you need in the room with you? I shook my head. No. I'm good. She nodded and moved on. My father turned to me, voice low. We need to talk. Privately. We stepped into his office. The door shut behind us. For a moment, neither of us spoke. He stood by the window. I stood at the center of the room. Finally he spoke. Jason, thank you. I blinked. For what? I asked softly. For saving the company. He paused. And for saving me. Those words hit me harder than any accusation ever had. I just did what I had to, I said. No, he said firmly. You did more. You stood up against corruption. You faced down the board. You protected something I couldn't protect myself. He turned toward me. You protected our future. I swallowed hard. Because I wanted that to mean something. And for the first time it did. But then he said what I least expected. Now we face a harder question. I frowned. What question? Tyler. Silence. A heavy silence. He continued. Agent Monroe mentioned the possibility of full charges. Destruction of evidence. Corporate sabotage. He paused. It could ruin his life forever. I exhaled slowly. He chose this, I said. He was manipulated, my father argued. He helped manipulate you, I countered. He's still my son, my father whispered. And I'm not. I snapped before I could stop myself. My father's eyes softened immediately. You're the son who saved us, he said. Tyler is the son I failed. I closed my eyes for a second. Hearing that hurt more than I wanted to admit. Jason, he said gently, the SEC will ask for your recommendation. They always do. You're the primary whistleblower. The evidence came from you. They will want to know whether you want full prosecution or leniency. He stepped closer. This is your choice. My choice. Whether my brother's life ended in a courtroom, or if he walked away with a chance to start over. I didn't answer. Not yet. At noon, Agent Monroe invited me into a side office. Mr. Wells, she said, we're starting with you. The interview was long. Exhausting. We went through every file. Every timestamp. Every message. Every suspicious activity. I explained everything. How I discovered the forged logs. How Tyler impersonated me. How Carter planned the takeover. How the board collaborated. How the SEC leak reached the media. How my mother had been the silent whistleblower. Agent Monroe listened carefully, taking notes, occasionally nodding. Jason, she said, you handled this extremely well. Most people in your situation panic or run, or fight blindly. You chose the right path. I nodded slowly. Now, she continued, setting down her pen, I have one final question. And I need you to think very carefully before answering. I braced myself. What do you want to happen to Tyler Wells? I expected anger to rise inside me. I expected memories of betrayal. Memories of humiliation. Memories of my suspension. But something else rose instead. Memories I hadn't thought about in a long time. Tyler as a kid dragging me outside to play basketball. Tyler begging me to fix his homework. Tyler crying when our parents divorced. Tyler seeking approval from our father, and never feeling he was enough. My chest tightened. He hurt you, Monroe said softly. He lied about you. Tried to destroy your credibility. And he destroyed evidence of a federal nature. I nodded. He deserves consequences, I said. So you want full prosecution? She asked. I took a long breath. No, I whispered. Not full. Monroe tilted her head. What do you want then? Accountability, I said. He needs to face consequences. Real ones. But prison? He doesn't need to be destroyed. He needs to learn. She wrote something down. Very well, she said. We'll consider your recommendation seriously. As I stood to leave, she added, you made a humane choice, Jason. Not everyone would have. When I left the interview room, Tyler was waiting in the hallway. Alone. Eyes red. Hands trembling. Jason, he whispered. I didn't speak. I didn't want to hurt you, he insisted. I swear, I wasn't trying to destroy your life. Yes, you were, I said quietly. But you didn't understand what you were doing. He swallowed hard. I thought Dad loved you more. I thought you'd replace me. I thought Carter would protect me. I stared at him. You chose the wrong people. He nodded, tears spilling over. Are you going to let them send me to prison? I didn't answer immediately. His voice cracked. Jason, please. I'm your brother. Please don't let my life end like this. My father appeared at the end of the hall, but he stopped, letting us talk. For a moment, it was just me and Tyler. Two brothers. Two childhoods. Two very different paths. I didn't ask for any of this, he whispered. I just wanted to be seen. My heart tightened, because I knew what that felt like. I stepped closer. I'm not saving you, I said softly. You need to pay for what you did. His face crumbled. But, I continued, I'm not ending you either. He looked up slowly, confused. You'll face punishment, I said. But not prison. His breath caught. I told the SEC to give you leniency. You'll lose your position. You'll face fines. You'll be monitored. But you won't be destroyed. He stared at me like he didn't understand. Why? He whispered. After everything I did? I felt tears burn in my eyes. Because Tyler, someone in this family has to be the bigger person. His face collapsed into sobs. He reached forward like he wanted to hug me. But I stepped back. Not yet, I said. We are not okay. But we're not enemies anymore. He nodded slowly. And for the first time in years, he looked small. Human. Broken. But maybe fixable. My father walked over, placing a hand on my shoulder. You did the right thing, he whispered. I looked at him. Now what? I asked. Now, he said, we rebuild. We walked back into the boardroom together, not as enemies or strangers, but as partners. And for the first time, I finally felt like I belonged. The next morning, Wells Tech felt like a crime scene. SEC agents moved through hallways with clipboards and scanners. Forensic analysts pulled files from servers like surgeons removing infected tissue. Employees whispered as we passed, eyes wide, unsure what to believe anymore. Every few hours, another executive was escorted out for questioning. Every 15 minutes, another lie collapsed. Every second, the truth rose higher and higher. I walked beside my father, both of us silent but united. Tyler was in a separate room with a counselor and 2 SEC agents. He wasn't handcuffed. He wasn't arrested. But he also wasn't free. He was in the painful space between consequences and mercy, and he knew it. The boardroom doors were open when Agent Monroe waved us inside. "Mr. Wells," she said to me, "we're ready to issue the preliminary findings." My father and I sat at the table. Carter and the remaining board members were already there. Some pale, some sweating, some still in denial. Carter tried to keep his composure, but his eyes were locked on the floor. Agent Monroe stood at the head of the table with a folder. "Let's begin," she said. She read from the report. After reviewing the documents, digital evidence, interview transcripts, and recovered data, the SEC has concluded the following. Everyone held their breath. A coordinated attempt to falsify financial data was initiated by Carter Harlow. Carter's eyes squeezed shut. 2. Multiple forged approvals were inserted into the system using illegally obtained encryption keys. My father's jaw tightened. 3. A shell company connected to Mr. Harlow was used to store redirected funds. A gasp rippled through the room. 4. Tyler Wells participated in evidence destruction under the false belief he was supporting the company. Tyler's name echoed like a ghost in the room. Jason Wells acted as the primary whistleblower, preserved critical evidence, and prevented further damage. I felt my father's hand rest on my shoulder. Monroe continued. Therefore, the SEC has issued the following actions. Carter Harlow is removed from the board, barred from corporate involvement pending prosecution, and placed under federal monitoring. Carter's face crumpled. He didn't shout this time. He didn't argue. He simply sagged in his chair. Defeated. 2. Board members who supported the illegal activity will resign immediately and face civil penalties. 3 members lowered their heads. 3. Tyler Wells will lose his position, be fined, and placed under corporate probation. I held my breath. However, she added, due to mitigating circumstances and the recommendation of the primary whistleblower, he will not face criminal charges. Everyone stared at me, including Tyler. He mouthed, "Thank you." I gave him a small nod. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But a step. For Richard Wells will remain so during the transition, under strict compliance oversight. My father exhaled shakily. Jason Wells will temporarily assume oversight of the internal investigation team and data integrity division. The room erupted in whispers. My heart skipped. Oversight? My father looked at me with pride. Agent Monroe closed the file. That concludes the formal findings, she said. Now we begin practical restructuring. Everyone stood. Except Carter. He couldn't. The aftermath. As people scattered for individual debriefs, I stepped into the hallway alone. My father followed. He stopped me with a hand on my arm. "Jason," he said softly, "I'm proud of you." My throat tightened. "I never wanted any of this to happen," I said. "But you handled it," he replied. "Better than I ever could." For a second, I saw the father I always wanted. The one who saw me. The one who listened. Then he said something strange. "There's something your mother told the SEC investigator. Something she wanted you to know." I froze. "What?" He looked uncomfortable, like the truth didn't sit easy with him. "She said, you're meant for more than this company." I blinked. "What does that mean?" "She believes," he continued slowly, "you shouldn't spend your life fixing what others break. You should lead. Create something of your own." A strange warmth spread through my chest. My mother always had a way of seeing the future. Long before anyone else could. My father straightened. "If you decide to stay and help rebuild Wells Tech, I'll support you," he said. "But if you choose to walk your own path, I won't stop you this time." My breath caught. For the first time in my adult life, the choice was mine. Fit or rise beyond the company that nearly destroyed me. Before I could speak, someone approached. Tyler. Broken, but more honest than I'd ever seen him. Jason, he whispered. Can we talk? My father nodded and stepped away. Tyler stood in front of me, trembling. I know I don't deserve anything from you, he said. Not forgiveness. Not trust. Not even a second chance. I didn't speak. And I know I ruined everything. His voice cracked. I was jealous. And stupid. And weak. And Carter used me. He wiped his eyes. But you still protected me. Even when I tried to destroy you. I looked at him for a long time. He wasn't lying. This wasn't manipulation. This was guilt. Real guilt. I don't expect you to forgive me, he said. But I promise I'll spend the rest of my life trying to be better. I inhaled deeply. Tyler, I said, I didn't save you for Dad. I didn't save you for the company. He blinked. I saved you because I don't want to become the kind of person you became. He nodded slowly. That's fair. And because, I added softly, I still love my brother. He broke into tears and hugged me. This time, I didn't step back. I let him. For now. We would rebuild our relationship. Piece by piece. Slowly. But not today. Today belonged to truth. Agent Monroe approached us again. Jason, she said, there's one more matter we haven't discussed. I frowned. What is it? She handed me an envelope. This was found among the files your mother submitted. She asked us to give it to you once the investigation was secure. My heart pounded. I opened it carefully. Inside was a document. Not government paperwork. Not legal files. Not evidence. It was a certificate of incorporation. For a new company. With my name on it. Wells Innovations, founder, Jason Wells. I stared at it. My mother had already set up a company in my name. A future. A path. A door I didn't see opening. My father stared at the document, stunned. Jason, he whispered. She believed you weren't meant to follow. You were meant to lead. My throat tightened. Everything made sense now. The warnings. The secrecy. The whistleblowing. The encouragement. My mother wasn't just saving me. She was preparing me. And now, I had to choose. Stay at Wellstick. Or step into something new. The future was in my hands. I stared at the document in my hands. Wells Innovations, founder, Jason Wells. My name. My company. My future, already prepared by the one person who always believed in me when no one else did. My mother. The woman who stayed quiet while chaos grew. The woman who warned me from a distance. The woman who risked everything to expose the truth. The woman who put a foundation under my feet before I even realized I needed one. My father stood next to me, silent, his eyes fixed on the paper. He wasn't angry. He wasn't confused. He was proud. He whispered, "She always knew who you could become." I didn't trust my voice enough to respond. For years, I worked under other people's shadows. Tyler's shadow. My father's shadow. The company's shadow. But now, someone had built a spotlight for me. And handed me the switch. Agent Monroe cleared her throat gently. "I should explain something," she said. "Your mother filed this incorporation 2 months ago." My father's head snapped toward her. 2 months, he repeated. Before any of this started? Before it became obvious, Monroe corrected. She anticipated what was coming. I felt the breath leave my lungs. She saw everything long before we did. Monroe continued. She told us that if Jason ever became compromised or threatened, this company would serve as a lifeboat, a way to protect him from the fallout. My father sat down slowly, the weight of her words hitting him like a wrecking ball. "I should have listened to her," he whispered. I gently placed the document on the table. "You didn't know," I said quietly. "None of us did." My father looked up at me with tired but honest eyes. "Jason, do you want this?" A simple question. But the answer decided the entire future. I stepped out of the boardroom alone. The halls of Wells felt different now. People watched me as I walked by. Not with pity, not with suspicion, but with respect. And something else. I passed the server room. The innovation lab. The glass wall overlooking the city. Every room held a memory. Late nights, long coding sessions, quiet victories, painful betrayals. I had given this company everything. My loyalty, my time, my patience, my identity. And what did I get in return? Suspicion, humiliation, erasure. I stopped at the door marked NeuroFlow Development Suite. My project, my creation, my dream. The door was locked. I rested my hand on the cold metal. NeuroFlow was supposed to change the company. Instead, it changed my life. Tyler tried to steal it. Carter tried to bury it. The board used it as a weapon. But NeuroFlow wasn't the enemy. It was just a reminder. I was meant for more than being someone else's pawn. I walked away from the door. When I returned to the boardroom, my father was standing by the window again. He didn't turn as I entered. "Your mother asked me once," he said softly, "whether I was holding you back." I froze. "What did you say?" I asked. "I told her she was wrong," he whispered. "I told her you belonged here, that you would take over someday." I waited. "But I was wrong," he continued. "I wasn't protecting you. I was limiting you." He turned around. "I caged you inside the company because I was afraid to lose another piece of my family." I swallowed the lump in my throat. He stepped closer. "But your mother, she was preparing you for freedom." He placed the incorporation document back in my hands. "This is your chance to be more than my son. More than Tyler's brother. More than a worker in my company." He took a deep breath. "You can build something that is truly yours." I looked at him. Really looked at him. And for the first time in my life, he didn't look like a CEO talking to an employee. He looked like a father talking to his son. Then he said the words that sealed my decision. "Jason, whatever you choose, I'll support you. But before you decide, I need to ask one last favor." "What is it?" I asked. He walked back to the table and picked up a folder. "I want you to help rebuild Wells Tech." He continued. "I don't mean run it. I don't mean stay forever. I just need you to help stabilize it through the investigation, clean up the systems, protect the remaining employees, shut down the corruption." I nodded slowly. "How long?" 3 months, he said. "Then, you can do whatever you want." I exhaled. 3 months was nothing in the grand scheme of things. He extended his hand. "I'm asking as your father, not your boss." I stared at his hand, then placed mine in his. "I'll do it," I said. "For 3 months." Relief washed over his face. "Thank you," he whispered. Agent Monroe re-entered the room. "Decision made?" she asked. I nodded. "Yes." My father stepped forward. "Jason has agreed to lead the internal restructuring for the duration of the investigation." Monroe smiled slightly. "Good choice," she said. "He's the only one I'd trust with that." "And after that?" Monroe asked. I looked at the incorporation document one more time. "I'll step down," I said, "and begin building something of my own." My father nodded with pride. "It's time," he said. Agent Monroe shook my hand. "Whatever you build," she said, "the world will be safer with you at the helm." That evening, as the sun set over the city, I stood on the rooftop of Wells Tech. The building was still in chaos, but inside me, there was peace. 3 months. Then a new beginning. Wells Innovations. My path. My creation. My rules. I pulled out my phone and called the one person I needed to thank. My mother. She answered on the second ring. "Jason?" she said softly. "Mom?" My voice cracked. "Thank you." She didn't speak for a moment. Then she said, "You finally see what I saw from the beginning." I wiped my eyes. "It's time to build something of my own." "I know," she whispered. "I've been waiting for you to say it." And for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt free. Truly free. 3 months. That's how long the SEC investigation lasted. 3 months of meetings, restructuring, audits, interviews, and rebuilding everything Carter and his allies had poisoned. 3 months of confronting hidden problems. 3 months of fixing internal systems. 3 months of watching the company slowly heal, like a wound finally closing. And during those 3 months, I changed too. People who once looked at me like a ghost now greeted me with respect. Teams that had never spoken to me now asked for advice. Managers who doubted me now trusted my judgment more than their own. Every time I walked down the hall, people nodded. Every time I entered a meeting, silence fell. Not out of fear, but recognition. For the first time since I joined Wells Tech, the company saw me. Not as a backup. Not as the quiet son. Not as the shadow behind Tyler. But as the man who saved everything. At the end of the 3rd month, Agent Monroe called me and my father into a final meeting. Her voice was calm, but warm. Wells Tech passed, she said. Your internal systems are clean. Your data integrity is restored. And your leadership transition is complete. My father released a breath he'd been holding for months. Thank you, he said. Monroe nodded. You too rebuilt this place, she said. Consider this chapter closed. Then she turned to me. Mr. Wells, I believe your new company will be something special. When you're ready, reach out. The SEC likes working with people who value integrity. I smiled. Thank you, I said. For everything. As she left, my father turned to me with a soft smile. A year ago, he said, I would have told you that Wells Tech needed you forever. He paused. But now I see the truth. You were never meant to stay in one place. I nodded slowly. Dad, I said, I'm ready to start my own journey. He embraced me tight. I'm proud of you, he whispered. More than you know. For the first time in my life, I believed him. Before I left the company for good, I visited Tyler's office. It wasn't really an office anymore, just a corner desk now. He wasn't an executive. He wasn't in leadership. He wasn't in decision-making. He was starting from scratch. When I walked in, he looked surprised. Jason K. Hey, I said softly. He stood up, fidgeting with his sleeves. Thanks for not letting them ruin my life, he said. I know I don't deserve it. You don't, I replied gently. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't get a chance to do better. He swallowed hard. I'm trying, he said. Really trying. I see that, I replied. And I'm not your judge. You'll rebuild your name on your own. Tyler nodded. Are you leaving today? Yeah, I said. It's time. He stepped closer. Jason, I hope someday you'll forgive me. I exhaled slowly. Tyler, I'm not there yet. He nodded, accepting the truth. But you're my brother, I added. And I won't abandon you. His eyes filled with emotion. Thank you, he whispered. We didn't hug. Not yet. But we shook hands. A start. I walked alone through the building one final time. The lobby. The elevators. The hallways where people once avoided eye contact. Now, they smiled. Thank you, Jason. You saved us. You're a hero here. I nodded politely, grateful but ready to move on. When I reached the exit, my father was waiting. No suit. No title. Just Dad. He placed a hand on my shoulder. You'll always have a place here, he said. But your future, it's out there. He pointed at the city skyline. And I can't wait to see what you build. I smiled. Me too. We shook hands like men. And hugged like family. Then I walked out of Wells Tech for the last time. Not as a victim. Not as a shadow. Not as the erased son. But as a man who took back his life. 2 weeks later, I unlocked the door to a small downtown office. White walls. Empty desks. Fresh paint. A blank canvas. My canvas. A place where no one could steal my work. Where no one could rewrite my code. Where no one could silence my voice. I stood in the center of the room, sunlight spilling across the floor, and whispered to myself, this is mine. I placed the old Neuroflow blueprint on the wall, not as a reminder of what was stolen, but as proof of what I could build again. Better. Cleaner. Free from corruption. My phone buzzed. Text from my mother. Proud of you. Build something beautiful. I smiled. Another text came in, this one from my father. When you're ready, let's partner as equals. I froze. Not father and son. Equals. That meant everything. Then another message, from Tyler. If you ever need help sweeping floors, I'm your guy. I laughed. For the first time in months, it wasn't bitter. Life felt lighter. Hopeful. I took a deep breath and powered on the first computer in Wells Innovations. A blank screen lit up. A new chapter. A new story. A new beginning. And I whispered to myself. They tried to erase me. But I became impossible to forget.